Okay, so welcome everybody to our fourth culinary career session all around kitchen culture. I'm very pleased to say that we are sponsored by caterer.com for these sessions. So just to let you know a little bit about caterer.com, they are the hospitalities industry hiring platform, matching the right people with the right jobs. And they're focused on supporting hospitality people through stages of their career, but also supporting hospitality businesses to find the right employees as well. They do have a hub on caterer.com that's packed with advice and guidance to help you find your next role. And they currently have over 13.5k job listings, which is fantastic. So if you're looking for a job, that's the place to go, as well as other. So we do also are joined by some amazing chefs this morning, and I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves because I probably won't do them that much justice because they are just fantastic. So we'll just go around. I'll get them to introduce themselves, and then we'll go into their questions and answers and find out a little bit more about them and their opportunities. So if you want to start, I'm just going to go by who's looking on my screen. So if we go to Poppy.
Hello everyone. My name is Poppy, which is / Poppy Cooks. I'm thinking I might have to help Lisa in a minute. Hang on, let me see if I can.
You can help Lisa.
And I am a social media chef now. I used to be a chef and worked in the industry for about a decade or so until I lost my job and started doing stuff on social media. I've now got over 4 million followers on TikTok and something, I don't know how many I've got on Instagram, but it's a whole different avenue than what I was expecting to do with my career. And I write cookbooks and I am a judge on the BBC Three show Young Master Chef.
Fantastic. Thank you, Poppy, for joining us. And Sean?
Hello, everybody. I'm Sean Rankin. I briefly sort of left home when I was 16 and went straight to London to do an apprenticeship. I'm more involved in restaurant and hotels. I designed sort of concepts for restaurants, my own restaurants over the years. You know, had Michelin stars in certain restaurants as well. In Jersey and London, and currently I have the fine dining restaurant at Grantley Hall. So yeah, that's a brief.
Fantastic. Well, we'll find out a little bit.
30-year bit.
30 minutes in 30 seconds. Love it. 30 years in 30 seconds. Love it. We'll be back to you very soon, Sean, to find out a lot more about that as well. Gary?
Hi, I'm Gary Townsend. I am the head chef at One Devonshire Gardens in Glasgow. If you're not sure what One Devonshire Gardens is, it's a pretty prestigious hotel headed up by some really famous names in the past, such as the late Andrew Fairley. Gordon Ramsay had one of his first restaurants there. So we cover a whole range of things. It's a hotel restaurant. We do weddings, functions, everything you can think of. So yeah, that's what I head up and do at One Devonshire Gardens.
Brilliant. Thank you, Gary. And Julie?
Hello, everyone. So I'm Julie Lynn, and I am a chef from Glasgow. So I started my career after I went on to the Amateur MasterChef in 2014, and then was a quarter finalist, and left my job as a violin and piano teacher to start cooking, as you do. And then I absolutely loved it. And since then, I've opened up 2 restaurants. So I had Julie's Kopitiam, which was a small Malaysian restaurant in Glasgow. And now I've got Gaga Kitchen and Bar, and I've recently just started presenting for BBC Food Fest, and also just doing stints on Saturday Kitchen and stuff as well. So doing quite a lot of radio, chatting and cooking.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for those introductions. We do also have another fabulous chef, Lisa Goodwin-Allen, who is from Northcote, up in the north, but unfortunately it seems she's having technical issues. So if she can join us, great. If not, I'm sure she'll let me interview her and find out some more information about her as well. So if she does pop in, fantastic. If not, I'm sure there'll be something we can do. So I am going to come over and start with you first of all, Sean, if that's all right. So you know, you've had an incredible career. I mean, I really don't know where to start, and you've kind of touched upon that so far. So tell us a little bit about how it began. You left home at 16. What happened then?
Yeah, a bit of a culture shock, to be honest. So I was born in Richmond, North Yorkshire, grew up in Durham. So it was a long time ago, as you can tell. And the world was a different place. I managed to get an apprenticeship in the Mayfair Hotel in London. So I left school at 16, and off I trotted down to London, into the big bad world. Didn't really realise what that sacrifice looked like until I got there, to be honest. And then I did a year in the Mayfair, a year in the Savoy, and a year in the Ritz. So a 3-year apprenticeship in London, and went to Slough College, Thames Valley College. So that was really, I was a growth, really sort of from a child, a really young child. You know, I had to really learn about myself, to be honest. So I mean, it was an amazing opportunity, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. At the time, it was really hard, and kitchens were a lot different then to what they are now. But that's what that was the start of my journey, so to speak.
Brilliant. So then you've done so much. You've been on TV, you've written cookbook. How did all that come about?
Yeah, so I then left London. I went back to Yorkshire, and then went to Jersey. And I spent 25 years in Jersey, really. And then working in a place called Longville Manor, which is still there now. And from there, I got asked to open a restaurant in Jersey, and then another restaurant. And at that stage, I opened Bohemia. And we took that over 10 years to a 2-star, 4 rosette level, which was, it was great. And then in that process, when you're cooking through this, things start to open up a little bit. So when you get awards and different things, that the book opens up slightly, and then you get asked to do Great British Menu, Saturday Kitchen, Sunday Brunch, and then MasterChef, etc., etc. So then your journey starts to just evolve slowly, and doors start to open. So that's how things happen, really. It's not. It just enters up. It just comes available to you with hard work, really. That's what happens. Yeah.
And that's a really great message. It's that hard work, putting in the work, and gets you those rewards as well. So you competed in the Great British Menu some years ago, which was fantastic. And then years later, your restaurant in Mayfair then became the kitchens, I believe, for the MasterChef, and you were guiding the contestants. So tell us a little bit about your mentoring. Why is that important for young people or anybody coming through the industry to be able to have a mentor?
I think the industry is quite volatile in certain ways, and there's still a lot of work to do in the industry. It's really tightening up now, which we all like. It's different to what we were, because we had to go through the pain barriers, I think, to be honest, where now there's a lot less pain involved in it. The hours are different, the pay is better, and it's recognised, hospitality is recognised, like France has for years and years, as a great industry to be in. So mentors are really important. Having somebody there that, depending on if you're young or old, older in your career. If you're young, then a good mentor is somebody that can keep you stable, focused, and on the right path. Because there's opportunities to slip off that path and go into different directions. Purely because of hospitality, the hours that you keep that aren't the most socializing, so you end up socializing out of hours, and that can be a slippery slope sometimes.
Yeah.
So it's good to have a good mentor there that can that can ground you and keep you focused when you're young. If you're senior going into the like you, Julie, changing sort of careers halfway through life type thing, then less mentoring. I think just more about the business side, really, and a mentor that can focus you on understanding how the business operates, from gross profits, GPs, P&Ls, and the business side of it, I think is really important.
No, that's brilliant. Thank you. So you've competed in competitions as well. Do you think competitions are good for growth? Obviously, we run Future Chef, and you're one of our Future Chef champions. But for the young people that are then thinking, well, what else could I do? Do you think competitions are worthwhile for young people to get involved with?
Yeah, I do, for lots of different reasons. Because it can show the person exactly where they are in their career and what they're doing. You know what I mean? Because you can fall into an area in kitchens where a lot of people can be sometimes, I would say lazy, but they can kind of like have an easier sort of ride because they know that the other guy's stronger, so they'll piggyback on them, if you know what I mean. So it shows them exactly what they're capable of doing in times. And don't forget, a lot of restaurants, especially high-end restaurants, want somebody to cook something when they come on an interview. And that's pressure. That's real hard pressure. And if you've got a chef de partie turning up or a sous chef turning up, you know what I mean, you expect them to cook something on their interview, because you want to see exactly what sort of skill sets they are. And where they are in what you're trying to interview them from. So it's really important, yeah.
Brilliant. And you're a Michelin-starred chef, so tell us a little bit about the Michelin process and actually retaining those stars, because it's quite difficult sometimes it's difficult to get them, but it's also to retain them. So tell us a little bit about how you work with your teams to be able to still retain those stars.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic, Michelin is a fantastic organization. We all, bow to Michelin in a certain kind of way because of, what it is. I mean, if the history, it goes back, 100 years. For me, it's important because it guides you and helps the business. But I mean, what really Michelin is all about consistency. I mean, it's just about consistency in what you do. So whether you're a pub or whether you're a fine dining restaurant or whether you're an Indian restaurant or a Malaysian restaurant or a Thai, if you cook great food consistently all the time, they'll recognize you for what you do. So from my point of view, with the team, it's all about, this is how we do it. This is the recipe. This is the standard. And we just methodically just do that process every single day. And then it's also, they learn about standards and how to keep them with themselves. And they learn about, just being consistent in how they operate. So, from tidying a fridge, cleaning a fridge, wrapping something, labeling something, dating something, it all just becomes a natural process in the environment at a Michelin star level, because you've got to have that grounding underneath to be able to achieve the product at the end of the day. So it's really important for lots of different reasons, which I find incredibly useful, when you're sort of mentoring and teaching people in the environment.
No, that's brilliant. Some really, really great advice there. And so I've been to your restaurant. I've not eaten at your restaurant yet, but I will, I'm sure, at one point. I've actually been lucky enough to be in the kitchens while your chefs have been cooking, and to look around Grantley and you've got your own gardens and things there, but you are really keen on supporting your chefs and making sure that they have a good work-life balance. So if somebody was to come and work at Grantley and work for you, Sean, what kind of things could they expect in terms of career progression, hours, and things that they'll learn?
Well, I mean, Grantley is a great place and has some great opportunities, in the fine dining restaurant as well. It also opens its doors to other areas, which is production kitchen, brasserie kitchen, Pan Asian kitchen, and then function and banqueting. From my point of view, we open 5 days a week. We close Monday, Tuesday, so guaranteed days off, which is a great thing now, for people. Instead of, we do straight shifts, so there's no split shifts. It's a really nice environment to work in. So we don't operate lunch, so we operate dinner. So although there's a lot of work to do, we don't push the team hard. We just, we understand what we can achieve with the team that we have. So to be consistent is not about, one day you've got 8 chefs and the next day you've got 5 chefs. It's all about what the team can achieve, with that menu and what you can do, with the team. It's a great Grantley Hall is a great opportunity, general anyway, for hospitality at this area of in the north of England.
Absolutely. And so the menus that you produce, are they produced by you, or is it a team effort? How does that work?
So yeah, I mean, years ago I used to, sit in my office and just till 2 a.m. and write loads of dishes out all the time, but that's unfair. So what I tend to do is I involve, especially the head chef and the sous chef, and filter it down into the sections as well. So they all get involved, so we all go out foraging, we all go out, gardening, and we look at what's ahead in the seasons. We obviously gather as much as we can throughout the season, for the winter. So this restaurant, the fine dining restaurant, is all about the 30-mile radius and all about, UK ingredients. It's not about you know, passion fruit or pineapple or coconuts, or, you know, we don't use anything that isn't in season or anything that's not from the UK, and we don't. So we harvest all the way through. We harvest all the way through the summer and spring months and autumn, and we collate everything, and then we either pickle, preserve, brine, and we use that all the way through into the winter months, so we don't have to go out and find something. And that's really good education from our point of view, is because if we can teach the younger chefs that are coming through that, you know, to be sustainability and have good carbon footprint ethos, then what we teach then should pass down after generation. So, you know, why we're looking to Peru for asparagus, we don't need to. You know, we've got great asparagus in season, so use it when it's in season, and when it's not, then take it off the menu. And it's those sort of educational points that we're running through the team, so that when they go to the next place, you know, it's not trying to find an avocado or trying to find this or that at this level. That's where it is, and hopefully that'll filter down.
Fantastic. That's brilliant. So my last question that I'm going to ask you for the moment is, what advice would you give to a young person who's looking to enter the industry as a chef?
I would tend to try and go by the same sort of road as, you know, a lot of great chefs have done. And what I mean by that is, and this is not sort of like aimed at Poppy. No, what I'm trying to say is that you know, to get some really good education, you know, really start at the bottom. You know what I mean? A lot of people will go onto social media, onto different channels, and try and grab snippets and bits of different things, and then go, well, yeah, you know, I've got all this information now. Yeah, of course I can work in the kitchen. It's not really the case. You know, and Poppy, I'm sure Poppy will understand that as well. You know, you need some fundamental grounding on how to operate a kitchen, how to be safe in an environment, and, you know, how to get a set of skills, you know, that you can use, you know, moving forward. Of course, social media channels are amazing now, because, you know, before, you know, we all had, you know, recipe books that we like hid away in safes and allowed nobody to touch our recipes, where now everything is there. It's very easy to become, you know, great by studying what other people are doing on social media, and fast. But that's not a way, you know, to really get some understanding of how kitchens operate. So I would tend to really take your time and understand it, and get some education first, and go through slowly, you know, into the kitchens and move forward. And then you can use the tools on social media to really sort of speed up your education, your process along the way.
Absolutely. That's brilliant advice. Thank you, Sean. Really appreciate that. So we are actually going to move over to Poppy next. So that was quite a good, it's like we planned this, we didn't. So Poppy, I'm going to come over to you now. So thank you so much, Sean.
Thank you.
Where do we start, Poppy? Michelin trained chef to social media content creator. What is it that originally attracted you to become a chef?
The getting away from my friends and family. I think I just wanted to just be on my own in the kitchen. I've always loved eating. Eating's my favorite hobby in the whole world. So I realized at a young age that if I wanted to eat more than just my dinner and my lunch, I had to be in the kitchen helping. That was it. That was from day one.
Fantastic. And you actually took part in our Future Chef program, didn't you, a few years ago? So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, quite a few years ago. Yeah, I did it for my school, and I won it, which was amazing, incredible. And then, because I'm lazy in some ways, and also when something good is happening, I decide to just stop doing things and just sabotage it for myself. So I just stopped practicing, and my teacher was like, you're not gonna do it. And so she swapped it to the person who came second place. And I was like, yeah, fair enough. Thanks, miss. So it's a shame, but also, you know, it doesn't mean, also means that you don't have to always win every competition to succeed.
That is really,
there's the life lesson from it.
No, that's absolutely true. You know, we have huge amounts of alumni, such as yourself, that have taken part in the program that actually haven't won. And it's not always about the winning, it's about that putting yourself forward and, you know, and making yourself present really within the industry, which is fab. So lockdown came and you found yourselves trying something a little bit different. So what has that been like?
It's been absolutely wild. So I didn't really have social media before. it. You know, I had like Instagram, like just for my friends and everything, but that was about it really. And so I actually did try. I found a video a few weeks ago of me when I was 20, and I'd only just been working in kitchens for about a year or so, and me trying to do a YouTube video, and you can see the zero confidence because I hadn't worked. I had no idea what I was talking about. You know, I'd only just got into kitchens and I hadn't had that experience, like Sean was saying, like of actually the backing and the knowledge of being in kitchens for so long. And I was so embarrassed by it. So the one really good thing for me and one thing I needed was the knowledge. And that's why, you know, a decade of working kind of helped me get to this point where I've actually like, oh, people might listen to me because I do know a little bit about it. You know, just I know a little bit, but I know enough to actually educate other people rather than just making things up half the time.
No, and that's brilliant. That's a really great message to get across. So you said that you had about 10 years in the industry. What kind of places had you been working in?
So I started off in, I started low. I started in care homes, which was amazing, you know, but that was I love feeding people, and I could see that food made a massive difference to the people in these care homes. I started in pubs, and then I got an apprenticeship at a Michelin-starred restaurant in Birmingham, and I was there for 3 years or so worked my way through an apprenticeship to chef de partie. Then I went to another kind of very fine dining, hadn't got a Michelin star, but was really pushing for it in Birmingham, and I was a junior sous chef there. Then I went into London because I wanted a little bit of time. I wanted my weekends back, and I found a job in a bank, but it was still fine dining within the bank. So they have inside the banks, they have like the corporate catering, so it's like mass, but this was an actual fine dining restaurant inside the bank. So you had Monday to Friday and you had weekends off, and I was like, well, this is living the dream now. And you know, we got to curate menus there, and it's very seasonal. It changed. There was a bit of pressure because you're cooking for people who are about to like invest millions of pounds into this, like into stock exchanges and stuff, which, you know, if they didn't like the food, they did not like the food, and that was it. You got a bit of a telling off. But that was amazing. And then I thought, you know what, this is boring. I want to work weekends again. So I went into another place that was open 7 days a week, and I was a junior sous chef there for just about a year before lockdown happened. And it was a female members club in London, so mainly female staff, which was amazing. Really good fun, but it was 5 stories. We were doing events, we were doing canapes, we were doing a la carte. There's like afternoon teas, and the kitchen was the smallest kitchen I've worked in so far, and I was like, how are we doing this? And it was just absolutely mad chaos, but so much fun.
Oh, that's brilliant. And again, I think it is that getting across that the industry can be a really fun place to work in as well, and all the different opportunities. So, you know, within about 2 minutes, you've told us you've worked in hotels, you've worked in restaurants, you've worked in food service management companies and the fine dining banks, you've worked in an all-female members club. So there's so much opportunity out there. So, you know, you then took yourself to social media. You, as we've mentioned, you've taken part in Future Chef. You've also judged on Young Master Chef. So why is it that you wanted to start to influence people through your cooking, and why do you think these competitions as well are so important to help with that growth?
Well, I've done a few competitions myself. I'm terrible. I will admit to you now, I am terrible at competitions. The pressure gets to me and I crumble, and the food comes, but it's always about 10 minutes late. So that's it. The scores just drop, they just plummet. But it's something that really builds confidence. And every time I did one, I got better, you know.
Yes.
5 minutes earlier, you know, it was getting a little better as I went along. And it's also about when you're working in restaurants, and when you work in this industry, sometimes you don't always get the chance to develop recipes or to develop dishes, because a lot of the time you're making the head chef's dish, and you know, you can kind of, when you're starting off, it's a bit cheeky to start saying, oh yeah, it'd be nice if you put this on. You kind of just stay quiet for a little bit until you're in with the team. But it was a chance for me to develop stuff and really try and put my stamp on a dish, and then have mentoring from the kitchen team around me to how best to make this. So that was it's quite a fulfilling opportunity to kind of get people rallying around you to help as well, and everyone's wants you to win desperately. And eventually I think all the people that I worked with like, just stop, because you're just embarrassing us now. But yeah, so I think it is important. It does build confidence, and it is, once you kind of let go of the pure stress and just try and enjoy it and just see it as a thing that you're doing that no one is going to care about it, you know, in a few weeks' time. It was all just a nice thing to do. Then you need to go for it.
Brilliant. No, that's really good. So, you know, you've mentioned mentoring there, and you also mentioned at the beginning, you know, how you look back over that YouTube video and you're like, oh my gosh, the confidence isn't there. So how has being a chef helped to build your confidence? And have you had mentors or influential people around you that have helped to support with that and support you through your career?
Yeah, I think the first kind of proper mentor that I had was at the restaurant that I had an apprenticeship at. He was the senior sous chef, and I just didn't stop asking questions. I don't think he wanted to mentor me necessarily, because I was this apprentice is doing my head in, but I didn't stop. I just kept hounding and hounding and hounding, because I wanted to learn desperately. All I want to do is absorb information, and eventually I think I broke him to a point where he would just tell me everything, and actually might have realized that, you know, maybe this girl wants to really get involved in this. So he really helped me for the 3 years that I was there, and it was a really great kind of bond that you have of like, I just want to learn from you, tell me everything, which was really useful for me, because I learned so much, because I was on pastry there and I had no idea what I was doing on pastry. So I managed to, you know, I can get an ice cream out for you now in liquid nitrogen if we need to, but I don't know if that's useful when I'm at home cooking. But he was a massive mentor for me. And then going through the rest of my career, I've kind of just tried to be mentors to people in a way of supporting them in a kitchen environment. I've been quite lucky with the kitchen environments that I've gone into. And sometimes when you see other people, yes, some people can have a hard time. It can be more difficult, can be more challenging. And I've always just tried to be the person to help other people, because I'm very lucky with how my life is.
Absolutely. You know, and you are influencing lots and lots of people out there, and young people especially, through your cooking, which is fantastic. You know, and it was something that you chose to do as a career, and it's just taken a completely different direction.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give to a young person who's thinking, yeah, I want to become a chef?
I would say you've got to go for it. You've got to, you can't hold back. You need to put everything into it. It will be your whole life, but it can be a very exciting life. And I think a lot of people kind of assume it's going to be, you know, terrifying, but like Sean was saying, it's so much better than it's ever been to be in this career. And there's so many more people looking out for young people in the industry as well now. And also, you know, we need it. If you want to keep going out for dinner like this, we need to get chefs in. Like, this is, and also it can be such a passion. Like, you can really enjoy it. And if you love feeding people, that helps as well, because seeing people happy after they've been fed is one of the best things that you can get from it.
100% agree with that. 100%. So Poppy, can't leave the question in without asking you about the good old potato.
I can't believe I've gone this far without talking about potatoes.
No, I'm shocked. Because, you know, girl after my own heart, loving the good old potato. So what are your tips for the perfect chips? We all need to know.
Perfect chips. Okay. Well, I'm a triple cooked chip kind of gal. I think it's always.
You was going to say that.
I think if you've got the time, you can do the whole freezing process, which makes it, you know, really incredible. But if you're at home, just do a quick triple cook. You've got to get the right potato. I don't know if this is always the right potato. I like a Maris Piper because I like how fluffy they get, and they're very readily available at home. But if you're at work, you can, Yukon Golds are quite good, or Chipper's Choice, and you can get all these other fancy ones which are really good. And you've got to triple cook them, so you've got to boil them or steam them if you've got that kind of equipment. Then you've got to cool them, then you've got to fry them at a low temperature, then you've got to cool them, then you've got to fry them at a higher temperature. And if you really want to go bougie, you go with beef fat when you're frying. Like, beef dripping's got to be the one, or duck fat. It's up to you really, but some kind of delicious fat.
I'm glad we got the potatoes in, and that is some really good advice. In fact, I think that's what I might try and do for tea, some triple cup chips tonight there, Poppy. So thank you so much for your time, and thank you very much for those tips, you know, with regards to the young people's careers and where you've been. It's been fantastic. So we'll just leave you there just for a moment. But I am going to go across to Gary. So Gary, lovely to have you on with us as well. So Gary, can you tell us a little bit about your career journey? And you know, you've mentioned where you work at the moment, but kind of what routes did you take and what progression?
Similar, very similar to Sean. I started off, well, when I was 16, I got to the end of school, and I had no clear route what I wanted to do. I never wanted to cook. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So it got to a point where I had to make a quick decision, and I went to college to do food catering, and I only done it because my pal done it at the time. So I got into that. And within a matter of months, like doing it, I felt like I was kind of good at something. And so I stuck with it. My pal, he dropped away. I kept going. And I think the more I done it, the more I loved it. I found I was very, very fortunate to fall into a good part-time job at the weekend. So I'd be college Monday through to Friday at the time, and then Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, I'd be working in this wee restaurant, which was a really good place at the time. And that kind of like just set me up, really, to be honest. I carried on college for another 2 years full time. Then I've done a part time in the third year while still working at the place. And then when it came to that, I just decided I wanted to do better and moved on to other places.
Brilliant. So what kind of places have you worked in, Gary?
But there always been. I've always had the ambition and the mindset to be in the best place you possibly can. You know, if you work with good places, good produce, good people, then you're only gonna win. You know, so after, I think every chef will probably go through this stage in their life when they get to like 19, 20, where all their pals are going out and they're kind of thinking, oh, I need to work Saturday night. But I think if you can push through that, doing something you love, then you'll be fine. But no, like I said, like I was very fortunate to work in some good places, but that's only because I wanted to do that and where I wanted to be. I took on after settling down and kind of knowing what I wanted to do, I've started working at a place called Tuddenham Mill in Suffolk, and that was with a guy called Paul Foster, who now is a Michelin star chef himself. And it was his first Michelin star. He just came from a Michelin star place, so he brought a lot of knowledge, a lot of passion, a lot of ideas, and everything like that. And I think that was the first turning point when I thought, wow, this is where I want to be going, you know. And thanks to Paul, I've managed to. Well, when I was working with Paul, I'd done a lot of time doing like stages, like free work experience in places. You know, I'd go for a week at a time, places just to work for free, just to learn stuff, bring it back to where we were, and to learn on that. So
that's brilliant.
Always been in high end places. Yeah.
But how fantastic, you know, that you've actually taken yourself off somewhere unpaid to learn those skills, because look how it's, you know, developed your career now. You've been twice finalist for National Chef of the Year, recently nominated as a culinary hero at the Craft Guild of Chef Awards. You've gained 3 AA Rosette stars. So do you think all of that experience has really helped you with that?
I'd like to think so, yeah. I think it goes back to like what the other guys say. You only get out what you put into something, you know. And if you wanted something bad enough, you know, you'll work for it. It's like, you know, my aim is to get a Michelin star, whether it's at One Devonshire Gardens or somewhere on my own one day, you know. But that drive is always there, you know. That we're not working for a guide, but it's like Sean says, if you work to those levels, then you know that outcome will hopefully come.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
How does it feel, Gary, to be recognised in the industry for, you know, for all the hard work that you're putting in?
That's a funny question. I don't know, because I don't recognise it myself. You know, I don't know. I'm not that kind of guy that's quite naive to it. Maybe, you know, I don't think that I'm just doing what I do. You know, I don't intend to be recognised. I'm not going out there to make a name for myself and all that. I just do what I do, you know, and yeah, it's just
Do you
hard
think
work
that's
pays off,
because
I guess.
you love what you do?
Probably, yeah. You know, and I think you need to love this job. You need to love this because if you don't love it, you'll hate it.
Yeah.
I think every chef will tell you that. You know, yes, the hours are not as long and all that anymore, but you know, I've done that, and to get through that and come out the other side, I think, yeah, you have to love it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so, you know, just you talked about Paul Foster, and he sounds like he was quite a mentor for you during your career as well.
Yeah, I think, you know, I think as you move into places, I think you meet people and you work with people, and you don't really think that they're a mentor at the time. But, you know, I know, like, even when I moved up to Scotland, like, I moved up to Scotland to a restaurant, Martin Wishart, when we was at Loch Lomond in Cameron House. Their intention was to get a star. I moved up in the June, and we got the star in the October. And I spent 5.5 years with Martin, and the same with Martin, and the same with Paul, and all the people that I've worked with. Like, I think if I needed advice now or something, I could pick up the phone to them and just ask them a question, you know. And even now, I find that they probably didn't intend on being a kind of mentor to me,
Yeah.
but at the same time, like, I get people doing that to me now. So it's kind of like a role reversal, you know.
Absolutely.
I had somebody the other day, she sent me a wee message on Instagram, and she started out really early with me in Cameron House, and then she came with me at One Devonshire Gardens, and then she took a job at Andrew Fairley's, and now she's working in Moore Hall, and she sent me a wee picture of her like serving food at the table, and I don't think that was to just, I think she was just wanting to show like where she's ended up.
Absolutely.
You know, and I went back to her. I said, "Look, I'm so proud of you, Anna. You know, I'm so proud of you. Like, look at where you've come from and where you are."
That's
So,
fantastic.
like, I think I'm quite. I don't. Yes, I do mentor people, but I think you're quite naive to it. You don't realise that you're doing it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's brilliant that you have that naivety about you as well. But we do know you're making a difference because you are one of our mentors for Future Chef. So how was
Yes.
it getting involved as a mentor from that perspective?
Stressful. It's the first time I've ever done anything like that, like knowingly doing it, and as rewarding, and it was a fantastic experience. It was really, really just, yeah, it was just so good because see like the student I had, Amber, like what a student. She was just absolutely, she knows where she wants to go in life.
Yeah.
You know, she knows what she wants to do, and the same mentality as what I had. She just worked hard, and it paid off. Unfortunately, she didn't win on the day, but she got to that point. She got to the final out of however many thousands of kids, and that was down to her dedication and mine as well. You know, because I had her in there every day of the week.
You did.
It was a sin, but but it paid off. You know, yeah.
Brilliant. Good stuff. And you know, we really appreciate your support for the Future programme and everything. So we know Amber's going to have a really great career. And you know, your guidance has been second to none for that. So last question for you then, Gary, what advice would you give to somebody who's looking to enter the industry, to a young person?
Very similar to what Poppy and Sean have said. I think you need to want to do it, and you need to find somewhere that's good. Work in good places with good people, and you're not going to go wrong. Put the work in, put the hard work in, and you know, you've got nothing to lose. You know, you can only be as good as you're going to be if you're going to do that. So that's my advice.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Gary. That was brilliant.
Thank you.
And I'm sure we'll be speaking to you in a little bit as well. So we are going to move on last, but certainly by no means least, to the lovely Julie. So Julie, you have been described earlier this year in an article by Great British Chefs as one to watch. That your love of cooking is ultimately what got you to be a chef, as you alluded to earlier on. So tell us a little bit about that, from hobby to career. How does that happen?
That's a really nice quote, isn't it? I like that.
It's a very good quote.
So I've always loved cooking, and I think it's got so much to do with my mum, actually. So I think quite a lot of us will like link how we got into food from childhood in some kind of way. And there's a bit of like a philosophy in Malaysia. So if like I was to bump into you in the street, I wouldn't say like, "Hi Kerry, how are you?" I would say, "Hi Kerry, have you eaten yet?" kind of thing. So it's just a huge part of the conversation. So it's like you live, breathe, and think it. And my mum has always been like that too. And I think I was just one of those kids, actually. I quite like to admit all of my failures first. And I was just one of those kids that I didn't do that great at school. It just wasn't for me. I just didn't love the studying aspect, essays and things like that as well. Sorry. And I ended up working in retail whilst doing the violin and piano teaching. I remember thinking, I think I was maybe like early 20s at this point, and I was like, I just don't know what I'm going to do. So I remember having this really poignant conversation with a friend of mine, Anna, who I worked with at the time. We're still very good friends. And we were like, what are we going to do? I'm really bad at folding t-shirts. I'm really bad at selling them. I'm not very good at any of this. What are we going to do? And she was like, Julie, what do you really like? And I was like, oh, I really like dinner. Like, I think about dinner all the time. Like, that's my main thing. And then I asked her, what does she like? And she simply turned around and said, dogs. At this point. So I was like, okay, well, maybe we can work on this. So kind of fast forward all the years. She has this professional dog walking business now, and I obviously a chef. So I think it's like the simple things in life that can really like get you onto your career. And from that moment, I just decided I'll try and do whatever it takes. I would start cooking for friends. And then obviously went into MasterChef, as I mentioned earlier. And I loved it. I loved the pressure. Like it was like a really addictive pressure, I think. And I came back up to Scotland and then quit my job. And I ended up just starting working for a lovely woman called Laurie McMillan, and she's based in Glasgow. And I just kind of approached her and I was like, listen, I have no experience and I could be absolutely awful at this. And I will leave if you ask me to leave. Okay, this is the good things. I will go. I will let myself out the door. But I am willing to learn everything and kind of do what you say and learn things. So I never had any kind of like professional training in things like culinary school or anything like that. I just went straight into kitchens. So, and I kind of fell into the hands of such a good mentor at that point. She's amazing. She's hilarious. She's great fun, and she's done really well herself. So, I was really, really lucky at that point too. And as I think everyone's kind of spoken about mentors, and you end up almost if you have a mentor, you end up, as Poppy was saying, like wanting to help other people actually, because it's almost like that gift that keeps on giving, you give it back to people kind of thing. So I ended up opening my first restaurant in 2017, and that was Julie's Kopitiam. And it kind of hit the ground running, like to the point that it was so fast. Like I can barely remember the first couple of years because it was great. I mean, it was lots of hard work. And we were in the Michelin Guide every year from when we opened until I just closed that actually in January, to kind of open a bigger restaurant. So it was a great success. And that was just from following the love of Malaysian cooking. And I think for me, it was quite like a good route to almost like connect to my mum from Malaysia and learn all about my heritage as well. So it was a really, really nice way to do it. And definitely not a conventional way. It definitely started from a random conversation from being really fed up of folding t-shirts, but we all get there somehow.
But it's a really great message, Julie, that you can swap, you can change careers, and it's okay to do that at whatever stage of life. So if a young person is a little bit unsure about what they want to do, then that's okay for the moment, and then you can decide later on. So I think it's a really, really important message to get across. What I loved when I was doing, because I'm a research girl, so I do my research, is that connection to your Malaysian heritage, to your mum. And I think you spoke about watching your grandma and your mum cooking, and I just had these visions of all these pots and pans and these smells and these. So tell us how, have they been your mentors, and is that something that you really feel is very influential? Because you've mentioned that your Malaysian cooking, but you also have your Scottish roots in there as well around your cooking. So how do you fuse all that together, and how's that helped?
I think being Scottish actually is something that, especially maybe Glaswegian, that we're quite a chatty bunch. We like to talk. So, and I think like sociability and food comes hand in hand. So that's why for me it feels quite natural to do that. And you're right. I actually will. Your research is perfect. I always did have my mum and gran kind of like cooking big, massive pots of curry, of laksa, of all these things around me. But even like the kind of also like European things that my mum learned after moving here from coming over here to become a nurse all those years ago. So I would always see cooking around me. But there's a thing in Malaysia where it's like, and I guess maybe this is the kind of unconventional way of cooking, which I always want to talk to people about, because I think there's so many ways that you can learn to cook well, and all are valid, all have like a really good point. So in Malaysia, we cook with a term called agak agak, which just means to season with the soul, which is quite a nice way to kind of put it. But that essentially means that you don't get this like lovely book of recipe handed down your family. It's like sit in a kitchen with your gran, and she'll just kind of show you stuff and put like a shiggle of soy sauce in something, or put like a sprinkle of this in it. There's no measurements. Measurements are not really a thing in our recipe cooking. So I think almost in a way that seems like quite an unconventional way to learn something, but it almost makes you quite independent with your cooking skills, because you then kind of learn to, like, I don't know, listen out for something sizzling, or like smelling something, or finessing everything at the end kind of thing. So I think that's made my palate quite well attuned from having quite a kind of strict Asian mother and also grandmother. So it's been very handy in that way.
No, that's brilliant. And again, we do see through our Future Chef competition, a lot of young people are bringing in influencers from home, and it's fantastic to see that, the home cooking it as well. And that's been the motivator, or one of the motivators for you, opening your restaurants and doing what you're doing. How scary is it opening your own business?
Oh, it's so scary. It's so scary, and I tell you what, used quite a lot of dry shampoo over that time, didn't have much time to wash my hair and be so finesse.
Is it worth it though, Julie? Is it worth it?
It's so worth it. And I think like there's that challenge of it. So and I think that's also part of opening a restaurant, is that you quickly realize that it's not just about the food. So you have to be your own accountant, you have to be your own social media manager, you have to be a really good boss, and you have to be also great at cooking as well, great at cleaning, all of these things. And it really does make you quite independent. I would always say to someone, if you want to open up a restaurant, I would actually start with doing things like a street food stall maybe beforehand, or doing pop-ups or kind of collaborative events, because it gives you such a good idea of what you're working with. And actually, just like, I feel like I've been taking a bit from what everyone has been saying, and it's been so helpful, like working in really good places. Really challenging yourself in competitions to be like, do you know what, actually, let's see how I do it independently. I'm going to try and rely on myself to be good at this thing. And I think it's all of those things combined that can really lead to a good career. And then once you get into restaurants and you get into cooking, you can branch into so many other careers as well. You've got things like photography, if you've become really good at social media and things like that. You've got even things like, I guess, the accounting side of it. You can get really good at knowing how to kind of budget for restaurants and become a consultant. So I think within food, quite a lot of people will think that you can just be a chef and that's it. There's so many other things that you can get good at, and actually probably that you have to be good at if you own somewhere, because you have to know how to do all these things to an extent.
But how fantastic, you've turned your hobby into, a business and a livelihood for you. And obviously you're absolutely enjoying that, which is, you can just tell, it's amazing. So last question for you, and which I've asked for everybody, is what advice would you give to somebody who is looking to enter the industry and maybe open their own business eventually?
I think my best advice, and I think, to be honest, I think this could apply to quite a lot of industries, is that you need to really believe in yourself. And that also means believing in your mistakes. So I think we've all probably had times in our career where we've gone, oh my God, I think I might have fluffed that a wee bit. Yeah. And I think that actually it's really good just to be like, I will make mistakes, and I'm comfortable with that because I need to learn from that. And when you go into something again, having a mentor, working in a surrounding that you enjoy is really important. I think we always need to like ask ourselves, like, are we enjoying this? Because we need to have the drive to do it. And for me, that's being around really good people who actually inspire me quite a lot of the time. So falling into somewhere with a mentor is probably the best way for me. And challenging yourself a bit, be a bit bold, be a bit brave, and kind of put yourself out there. And I think, and again, if you're accepting that you will make mistakes and you know how to learn from them, and you're secure enough in yourself that you can keep on going, I think that'll help you in any industry.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much, Julie. Fantastic. So thank you to all of our speakers. We've had some, I mean, I've learned lots today and we've had lots of lovely, valuable advice. Are there any questions that have popped up in the chat, or does anybody have any now? This is always that awkward moment. Is there anything any of you want to add before we leave? Is there any other final words of wisdom? I think we've all got these words of wisdom that have come out today.
I think everyone's covered every single basis, if I'm honest with you. I think everyone's got a lot of stuff to kind of go away and think about when getting into a career in hospitality.
Absolutely. So I've not seen anything coming through, just in case there are any questions that are coming through. Springboard also has its very own careers website called Careers Scope that is a one-stop shop for information, advice and guidance on careers within hospitality. And I'm sure one of my lovely colleagues will put the link in the chat as well. It allows you to be able to find out much more about careers in careers and chef careers as well. We have an apprenticeship hub, we have a teacher resource area full of lesson plans and for careers advisors and teachers, and we have our brand new profiling section as well, which will allow you as a teacher to be able to create a profile, to access resources, to access events and programs, and then for students you'll also be able to access resources, recipes, and also to be able to access our events as well. And for your students out there, your profile will grow with you, so when you go into college you can update that, when you get your first job you can update that. We'd really love to see the progression you and your students are making. So, have we got any questions? No, we've got that in the chat. We've also had a comment from one of the teachers said it was really interesting, and thank you to all of you speakers, which I do also want to reiterate as well. I know how busy it is at the moment for everybody and how busy the industry is. And so I just want to thank you for all of your support for this, because you've really made our final session fantastic. And the advice that you've given has been brilliant. And if there are any teachers that want to find out a little bit more about any of the businesses that we've spoken about today or work experience opportunities, please do let me know and we'll be happy to support you with that. So if there isn't anything else, I'd like to say a massive thank you again to everybody for joining us. Oh, Amanda.
There's one question. There's a question for Gary. Gary, somebody's been asking, how is Amber doing now? What's she up to after the competition?
How's she doing? She's flying, you know, off the back of that, off the back of the final. Look, I know, like, she was obviously disappointed that she didn't win the final. As I think anybody is when you go into competitions. You know, I was disappointed. Like, I got to the final 2 years of my chef competition, and it's disappointing. But I've come out the other side of that, and you know, people would say to me, like, you don't need to win that competition to make something for yourself. You know, so again, mentoring, I said that to her. I remember walking back, like, through London, like, just me and her walking up front. I think my mum's got a picture of me and her just like walking and talking. And I just says to her, like, look, you don't need, I said, you'll be rough for a few days. I said, but, you know, you don't need to win this to make something of yourself. And it's true, you know, because doing competitions and stuff, it opens doors. And off the back of that final, she just recently, there a couple of weeks ago, she'd done a live cooking demo in Glasgow at the I can't remember what Ideal Home Show. With Mark Hare. So, you know, the age of 16, she's cooking on a live stage in front of 100 people, and then she comes back to me and she's like, "What can I cook?" You know, so there she is back again in my kitchen, weeks upon end practicing a dish. You know, and she says, "What can I do?" I was like, "Well, do a souffle." You know, so people like to be impressed. So I says, let's do a souffle. So she's done a banana souffle, which is probably a bit crazy, cooking live on stage in front of people doing a souffle. But she, you know, she done it. She pushed the boundaries and she's done it, and it's paid off. You know, so now she's at the stage of her life where she's wondering what to do, what path to go down. But I think she's going to go down the apprenticeship route. And look at doing something like that. So, but yeah, she's doing good. She's going to have a fantastic career, 100%.
She's definitely one to watch for sure. She's got that drive and that ambition
already.
And thank you for the support. Brilliant. So, have we got any other questions? Amanda, is there anything else in the chat? I don't think.
No, just some words of encouragement and thanks, saying thank you. It's been amazing. And Sam from our team was saying that she was just asking after Amber, and really pleased that she's doing well. So yeah, an amazing session. Thank you so much, chefs. It's been fantastic.
Absolutely, we really do appreciate it. So Gary, Julie, Sean, Poppy, thank you so much, and we will hopefully speak to you all soon. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care. Bye. Bye.
Bye.